Hi everyone, it's Victor speaking, and today we will be discussing the last solar eclipse of 2021. Now, this eclipse belongs to Saros 152 and is number 13 of 7 eclipses in the series. Now, I did make actually a short webinar about a couple of hours long, how to actually check your prenatal solar eclipse, which are the most important solar eclipses. And also I explained how the Saros cycle actually works, because it's always very important that we go back to the original chart and then have a look at where the karma is coming from. So we're going to be doing that in this video actually today. Now, so each family cycle belongs to a series, which is, as I said, is the 152, but it also has got a family. So this is going to be the South 5 family. So Saros cycle series 152 for solar eclipses occurs at the moon's descending node, which actually repeats every 18 years, 11 days, and about 8 hours. And it contains about 70 events. So all eclipses in this series occurs at the moon's descending node. So basically, why it's interesting for us is because this new moon will be about 12 degree away from the south node, which is also sitting on 0 degree. So in this video, we will be looking at this new moon, because it is actually conjuncting the great attractor. So I will introduce that for you. It also conjuncts Mercury and Vesta. So very interesting, being squared by Nessus and also being sextiled by Saturn as well. But the ruler, Jupiter, is going to be having almost an exact square to Mars as well. So there is definitely plenty to uncover here what it might mean. Now, as I said, when we are looking at the solar eclipses, we always need to look at the original chart. So each Saros family has an original birth chart, which talks about the beginning. Now, this Saros cycle started actually in 1805, and the new moon was on 2 degrees of Leo. Now, that original chart, the 2 degree of new Leo, was actually sitting on Venus Chiron midpoint and Saturn Neptune midpoint as well. So clearly the Saturn Neptune midpoint is all about something to do with the restriction, for instance, in medical fields, Neptune, or we want to be healing, we just don't know how to heal. So it is somehow, the original chart relates to the healing points from a karmic perspective, of course. Now, the countries which will be affected the most in this lunar eclipse, and we can actually look at that together, that might be a smart idea, so I can show you how it works. You might want to be bringing up the solar eclipse chart, which I've already done, and that's going to be 4th of December 2021, 3:43 by New York time. So what you want to do is you want to be putting this onto the map, the solar maps. Here you go. And then we could just bring up a new map. And then you will be able to see that here is the new moon. And then it's running through Russia, Saudi Arabia, and then it comes down a little bit, and then it affects South Africa as well. So that's one of the points which gets triggered the most. And the next one is somewhere running through around Vancouver. So it's going to be affecting Canada as well, slightly. So these are the countries where probably we might feel the effect of the solar eclipse the most. Now, I did go back a little bit in time, and then I started looking at, okay, what happened in 1805? One of the reasons why I did that was because, as I said, that's the beginning of this solar Saros cycle. But also, that was a time when there was also a Neptune and Jupiter conjunction happening at the very same time on 25 degree of Scorpio. Now, we do know that we are going to be having a Neptune-Jupiter conjunction happening in a few months' time, basically in April 2022. So what struck me the most is that conjunctions are all about new beginnings, right? So there is this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which promises us a new beginning. By the way, I did make a video about that. Also, the new moons are always about new beginnings as well. And at the same time, the nodes are also on 0 degree as well. So therefore, there is so much new beginnings happening at the same time. So I wanted to look at what type of new stuff started in 1805. And actually, just so let me list a couple of them for you. So, for instance, the first French Empire abolished the French Republican calendar in favor of the Gregorian calendar. Then there was an impeachment for Samuel Chase as well. So I'm just wondering, is there going to be some changes around the calendar? And I know there are things, for instance, where countries are thinking about to scrap out entirely this time goes back and forth type of things. So maybe we see that in the next 18 months. Also, impeachment. I'm just wondering if there is going to be an impeachment taking place again in the United States, especially. Now, the reason why the United States came to my mind was, or even in Canada, because this new moon will be actually in New York. It's going to be ruling, the sun will be ruling the midheaven, which is something to do with the state, which is something to do with the government overall. Then also from an artistic point of view, Beethoven's Symphony No. 3, the Eroica, had its first public premiere. So, and that actually very much relates to the Jupiter-Neptune cycle, for instance, in the sign of Pisces. So definitely the music industry will be somehow important. And then Napoleon was also crowned King of Italy. Detroit actually burned to the ground, and most of the cities around were destroyed. And also there was a huge earthquake, I think in Molise, Campania, Italy, and 5,573 people were actually killed in this earthquake. So these were the biggest events in 1805. Now, this time around, this solar eclipse will be happening on 22 degrees Sagittarius, which is actually an Aries decan and an Aries dwat. So this is a very charged up solar eclipse. It has got that fighting spirit. It wants to actually go ahead. And then if you look at what Sagittarius is ruling, then it is all about freedom. So it's kind of like fighting for the freedom in a sense. But also Aries is all about initiation, and Sagittarius is about education systems. So maybe it's an initiation of a new education system. So that's also very interesting for me to see. Now, as we always do with eclipses, you're going to have to go back approximately about 18, 19 years to look at what happened around that time in your life, because this could be actually a closing chapter of that period. So somehow we're talking about 2003-ish, 2002 to 2004, because this could be showing some type of endings to that project. Maybe, you know, unfortunately we got married, it might be a divorce, or I got to know someone and that person comes back into my life, or I started a job and then now I'm going to be finishing that job because maybe I retire, or maybe I just want to be somehow starting something new. So Sagittarius eclipses are all about kind of like breaking the stagnation, somehow looking at the self-imposed limitations, somehow conquering your own freedom. And it can be about planning trips, or I'm just going to be taking academic courses. or I just want to be actually starting a new life overall. To be frank, one of the things which really came to my mind, because I was preparing the yearly forecast for each of the signs, and I've seen plenty of signs want to be relocating, selling their homes, and so forth. So the migration really came to my mind for 2022 being very prominent. And this solar eclipse actually can indicate something like that, that I want to be moving, people are going to be leaving certain countries. So the migration somehow, I think, is going to be a very important topic in the next 18 months overall. And of course, with all this energy, which is talking about new beginnings and new rules, and which of course relates to your freedom and your adventurous spirit. So it kind of, for me, is a start of a new life, basically. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the solar eclipse will be conjuncting the Great Attractor. Now, I don't think there is so much information about this out there, and it doesn't mean I know so much about it, because this is actually something recently discovered. But the Great Attractor is kind of like a super cluster of 100,000s of galaxies in the solar system. And imagine this as a point in the galaxy where all these type of galaxies are getting pulled towards to. So it's kind of like, you know, like a magnetic force in a sense. And then each year, these points are somehow getting attracted towards that point. So eventually it kind of indicate that every single galaxies and planets will be a cluster just around that point. Of course, it takes a very long time. Now, in astrology, the Great Attractor represents the key to the mystery of the universe. So another thing which I really believe is that we are going to be making tremendous amount of discoveries around astrology, around the universe, around planets. Maybe it's a discovery of different type of lives or organism. And when I talk about lives, I'm not necessarily suggesting that there are other people living out there, however it's possible, but maybe just some type of microorganisms. Maybe we see a hint of life on certain type of planets. I also would like to mention that, as I mentioned, it's on 14th degree of Sagittarius, but also we've got the galactic center in the sign of Sagittarius as well, which is around the 26th degree. I'm not going to be talking about that, but these 2 points actually falling into that 13th sign, which they discovered recently. So I don't know, I can't remember how it's called, Ophiuchus, I think, if I pronounce it right. But I kind of find it interesting that all of those are actually falling into this new sign. So it might be that we're going to start integrating these 13 signs into astrology as well. And that's going to be kind of a bigger topic. That's also very possible. Now, the very last time, actually, the nodes crossed this Great Attractor point was on 29th of December 2011. And actually, that was the true node, was in conjunction to this point. So also, I recommend looking back in your life, what was going on in 2011 towards the end of the year, beginning of 2020, because that could be something, again, which comes to a closure, or you are going to be starting something new. Also, I'd recommend looking at if you have got any planet around 14 degree of Sagittarius, because that could get pushed to grow or to some type of evolution overall. Another thing which I'd like to mention, that each planet has got their nodal axis as well, okay? So we tend to be working with the lunar nodes quite a lot, which is also called as Rahu and Ketu, or South Node and North Node. But each of the planets also have got their nodal axis as well. Now, this 14 degree of Sagittarius is actually the nodes for Venus and Uranus. Now, astrologers most commonly use the lunar nodes in their work. But as I mentioned, the planets have got their nodes too. Just as the intersection of the moon's orbits with the ecliptic forms nodes, so too do the intersection of the planetary orbits with the ecliptic too. So if you have got any planet around 14 degrees of Sagittarius, plus minus 2, I would say, as an orbit, then yes, there is that great attractor type of energy to it. Okay, so it's kind of like the nothingness, but an energy which pulls you into that segment. It's kind of like getting pulled towards something which is unknown or unseen, kind of like unseen forces. But it also has got some Uranian and Venusian factor as well. That's one of the reasons probably why Sagittarius is one of the most biggest spiritual fan overall, right? Because you have got the Uranus nodal point here too. Now, also said that people who were born with sun, moon, or ascendant, or any other important planets close to the great attractor, then usually they kind of meet people or close friends or even intense enemies who want to be setting them on the right journey. So this is again telling me somehow that something is going to be happening in the world very shortly, which is going to be kind of like a karmic reset overall. It's definitely about the mystery of the universe, whether correctly or not, but there are going to be some type of discoveries made, I'm surely. I think this great attractor is very much about potency overall. Maybe it's just an accidental discovery. But I think this great attractor can also talk about the masses of people as well. Because, you know, you get pulled towards something, and whether it's an ideology, it's in the sign of Sagittarius, or whether it's a cause, of course, it depends on the person, or whether it's just, I want to be actually strong, I feel stronger together with someone else. Typically those who have got the sun, moon, or the ascendant, or even the ruler of the ascendant around that 14 degree of Sagittarius, sometimes these people act like a little bit of an alien, or they can be very psychic as well. So, or these people might travel quite a lot, or when they walk into a room, actually, they can kind of feel the energy of the people, and then they can pick up on certain things. So I think the great attractor gives a very psychic abilities to people. So maybe some of the questions this solar eclipse will bring up is that remembering that we are all magnetic beings, we were born with an ability to pull things towards us and be pulled by things too. So it's kind of like the law of attraction, which really comes to my mind around this solar eclipse. So what do you want to attract in life? Do you have the hope? Do you have the faith to actually achieve those? Sagittarius is all about seeking the truth, the meaning of life, and it does talk about the fate versus free will as well. Now, what's interesting is that half the sign of Sagittarius is actually more fated, and the other side is more free will orientated. So the first 15 degree is more about free will, and the last 15 degree is more about faithfulness. So because it happens on 12 degree, it indicates that you have got the free will to actually start something new. It's about moving to a point where we might not have control anymore, but we still feel free to make some type of choices in our life. And it kind of also, because this is a concentrated point, and if you have got a planet around 14 degree, I would say that all kind of things lead here. So it's kind of like the dispositor of the chart, really, kind of like the CEO of the chart on one hand. Of course, the dignity of the planet will decide whether it's, an easy one or or a weak spot in your chart. Now, Mercury will be tightly conjuncting actually this, which is very weak in the sign of Sagittarius, because it's meant to be about it's detrimental position for Mercury, basically. So this could bring actually some turmoil, really. This could bring some frustration when it comes to things like technology or scientific researches or even travels. And let's say I want to be buying a car, for instance. That's also very possible. So Mercury in, I'm not a huge fan of saying that planets in detriment are doomed, because I think somehow it also talks about, certain, because a planet in detriment kind of indicates that we have got the ability to work under stress very well. We're gonna kind of learn that. Detriment is sometimes catabolic. Yes, things tend to fall apart, not working too well, but eventually we learn to manage that. Yes, at the beginning of our life, it might talk about being nervous around that topic, what the planet rules in your chart, or we feel that it's not really at ease. Somehow there is this corruption going on, but eventually it's gonna get better because you're gonna keep learning about it. So planets in detriment, I think it's somehow learning curves, what it indicates. Now, Mercury in Sagittarius, I think it has got so many good things about it. As in Mercury is writing and Sagittarius is publishing, for instance. So these people can be good writers, but maybe it takes time for them to actually being able to publish that book, right? Or Mercury is all about collecting the information. Sagittarius is very much about putting the dots together. So Mercury recognizes the pattern, Sagittarius spreads the information. So I kind of see some positives about Mercury being in the sign of Sagittarius. Both of them love good education. Both of them love discussions. Philosophy is their strongest suit for both Mercury and Sagittarius as well. I think Mercury can see the bigger picture in the sign of Sagittarius. Mercury knows that I need knowledge. Yes, Sagittarius makes Mercury even more thirsty for knowledge. Probably it's very good at argumentations or arguments. Mercury here probably will defend the cause to the bitter end. So I do see some positive type of things around it. So again, I recommend kind of looking at, what house this solar eclipse falls into your chart, because that could be a new beginning for you. And you might not be able to see it now, but it's kind of like you getting pushed to move towards that kind of change. And it might be because you are going to be meeting someone. Jupiter is in Aquarius, the ruler is in Aquarius, which is about community. So maybe I will be part of a community where I get a sudden hint of idea, or maybe I'm going to be just signing up for a course, and that is going to be prompting you to do something. Maybe you're listening to me now, and then you're going to say, you know what, I kind of have got this feeling, and I want to be moving towards something new. So kind of like this great attractor is something which is out of the sight. It's kind of like the other side of the Milky Way, but it is definitely talking about a new truth which is emerging, and some type of greater truth to be revealed overall. So I'm quite excited about this, actually. Now, also, I went back in time a little bit, because at the end of the day, Jupiter rules this new moon, right? So I also wanted to look at when Jupiter was around the great attractor the very last time. And Jupiter went retrograde on 10th of April 2019. and exactly stationed direct on 11th of August on 14 degrees of Sagittarius. So another point which I'd like to look at, or I would like you to look at in your life, that did something start for you in 2019 around August, right? Because it's also very possible that that comes to a completion overall. Now, because Jupiter stationed direct on this great attractor, you might have started asking some questions. Where do we feel pulled? Where do we feel we are heading? And we know, unfortunately, that's when the COVID situation pretty much kicked in. The following month, it already happened. So I kind of believe that maybe this new moon is actually giving us new opportunities, for instance, in the healing department, or just new ways of traveling, or hopefully this is going to be the end of it. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to be happening on the 4th of December. So some astrologers believe that the eclipses last for about 6 months. I tend to believe actually it lasts for about 18 months, because we're talking about a new moon now, and 18 months later, there is going to be a full moon happening there. So it kind of promises something is coming to an end, which started in our life, maybe in 2019, August, September time. Jupiter actually was going through the great attractor between August 11th till the 29th. So it definitely kind of prompted us to think bigger, wider, more abundantly. And now you're going to have to go back and then look at those a little bit. Now, Jupiter is actually on 25 degrees of Aquarius at the moment, the ruler, which is squaring Mars on 23 degrees of Scorpio, and that's going to get exact on 28th. On the 8th of December. Now, why I like this aspect is because it kind of really prompts you to go and, find that freedom within yourself. So it's something which I'm very, very excited about. Another things which I've noticed is that, of course, the North Node is still on in the sign of Gemini on 0 degree. Now, the ruler of the North Node is Mercury, which is conjuncting the solar eclipse. So again, this is showing me some type of endings and beginnings. It is definitely talking about cleaning something up, clearing something out in your life. Now, from a mundane perspective, I kind of believe that this could be about artificial intelligence, or maybe VR technology is going to be a lot more enhanced or used. So the VR technology, if someone does not know, this is the virtual reality type of things. Or Mercury is about transport. So I'm just thinking the vacuum train system might get enhanced or used more, because the vacuum came to my mind because of that great attractor, which is actually pulling us towards, right? So the vacuum is all about pulling something. Or maybe it could talk about flying cars. It could talk about the rebirth of the quantum technology or mind manipulation. But I think something around space travel definitely will be very significant in the next 18 months. Or because it's in the sign of Sagittarius, which is about connecting the dots. Mercury could represent the languages. Sagittarius is the language itself. So this could talk about like something which is automatically translating different type of languages into your own ear. So I can actually imagine that. Now, I also looked at what was discovered in 1805, where this solar cycle began. And actually, there was the first record of water birth in France. So is it going to be something more unique, especially with the Jupiter and Neptune conjunction? Also, there were plenty of discoveries around water. So the water, they realized that the water was composed of 2 parts of hydrogen and 1 part of oxygen. So definitely water is going to be somehow a huge topic coming up for us, in my opinion. But I also saw that the electrolysis of water was discovered, the wind speed machine, the amino acid discovery. They were actually discovered these pattern machines, like, you know, when you are making a cloth, like a skirt or something that they can put the pattern in. The carbon paper was discovered, the first grizzly bear was discovered actually. And there was also the first book ever written about chemistry also. So these are all very Sagittarian type of things, because Sagittarius is the discovery. Mercury is the pattern recognition overall. Something to do with the carbon paper, which is related to education overall. So that's again very possible. And also this was the year when they realized how to make platinum. So I'm also wondering if platinum is going to become a bigger topic in the next 18 months. But Sagittarius is also about social gatherings overall, because gatherings from plenty of different places, maybe it's for religious reasons, maybe it's for spiritual reason, you know, God knows type of energy. But this could actually talk about, unfortunately, demonstrations as well, even though there are no so much Uranian and Marsian influence to it. But Mars is squaring Jupiter, and Mars is in rulership this time around, which could talk about, you know, that we are aggravated a little bit. And as I mentioned, this solar eclipse is falling on Aries decan and Aries dwarf as well. So it has got that feistiness around it. Sagittarius talk about legal systems as well. So it's very possible that there are going to be changes around the legal system. But I've also read recently that a couple of countries kind of had this announcement that the country should not have been in lockdown for such a long time. I think it happened in Spain, in one of them. And actually the court ruled against the country's decision. So this might emerge even more, and more countries will be actually, you know, realizing this. So maybe it's actually about, you know, we can't lock people down anymore, or we just need to find a different, you know, ways and so forth. So I can really kind of imagine in certain countries that happening. Now, it could also talk about solar eclipses are always outer events. Usually they talk about major turning points in our life. So on a personal level, this is definitely talking about how you are going to be freeing yourself up from something. Do you actually have the faith and the hope that you can further grow? And whether it's from a spiritual perspective or from a material perspective, but both talks about abundance overall. So how I am going to get richer, but not just from a material perspective, but by gaining experience. So it's definitely about starting a new phase of your life. It's about tapping into something new in the next 18 months. It might be something which have been around you for 5 months, just you haven't seen it yet, and it can help you to free up. So something to be cleaned out, clearing something out is definitely, there is that energy with this new moon, and it wants to inspire you to change your life. And I think it's a great time actually, because Saturn has got a sextile to this new moon, which started about 5 months ago. Now, the 5 months does not come from the transit, it comes from somewhere else. Just go with me, okay? I think also there is some truth element to this new moon. It's going to be helping us see something which we haven't seen before. Seeing something, because Sagittarius is about your moral code. It's about your truth, your own truth and opinion. And maybe you said something, it was going to happen, and then people were laughing at you. And then now it might be the time actually to to realize that you were true about it or you were right about it. For instance, back in March, I made a video about Neptune and Jupiter conjunction, and then I kind of mentioned that I think that the oil prices will go up very significantly. Some people said to me, "You are crazy, you are stupid." Look at it now. Where are the oil prices? And I think it's just the beginning of that. So when Neptune and Jupiter will be meeting fully, which is next year, I think it might be hitting, heights, huge heights overall. So I kind of recommend it to some people to invest into oil, petrol related matters, because that might bring them some money. So sometimes what I try to say with this is that sometimes something will leave your mouth and people will kind of tell you you are crazy. But at the end of the day, your own truth might be proven at one point. So your ideology definitely gets enhanced with this solar eclipse. It might be about freeing yourself up from something, what you were told or taught before, and there is a need to kind of remove those. I think that's especially true for people with Sagittarius rising sign. Now, this solar eclipse is conjuncting Mercury on 15 degree. And I do believe that it does give a great deal of emotional sensitivity. And your mood can be changing quite a lot as well on a personal level. So emotional sensitivity kind of means to me that it's a download. So you really watch out. You should really watch out for your ideas around the 4th of December, 5th of December, or even the 3rd, because you can emotionally get closer to something, to an idea, to a person, or to even a family member. And that might be a sign for you of which direction you should be taking in the near future. So there is this strong emotional bond which you are going to be making, but sometimes it can cloud your judgment as well, of course. So especially if you have got any type of decisions to make around the 4th of December, I kind of, it's not necessarily the best time. So just pay attention to, because there could be this tug of war between your emotions and your clear judgment overall. So, but what's actually good to do around these days, sociability, or to share your feelings, maybe in a written form or in a spoken way, but sharing your feelings with others. This could be a great opportunity to kind of get things off your chest, especially, I would say, anything to do with relationship issues, because the moon is kind of like the wifey energy, right? Or you can be having conversations with women or a therapist or a family member overall, because this is all about emotionally and intellectually nourishing yourself overall. But definitely, you might be developing some psychic abilities. So I would really watch out for signs on this day. Sagittarius is about learning, travel, education, spirituality, even legal matters. So if you have got any type of situations, for instance, in the legal department, that could actually show the end or the beginning of that. I also find it interesting that Jupiter is in the 3rd sign from the solar eclipse, the ruler of it. So something to do with travel, neighborhood, and information are very heightened here. So I think some very significant truth will be coming through. But also there is going to be something happening around travel, what you need for travel, what you don't need, and all those type of things. Now, as I said, the ruler is squaring Mars, which is going to become exact on the 8th of December. On one hand, it's definitely very nice energy because it gives us the energy to initiate something new. So, extreme ambitions. It gives you the possibility to overcome difficulties and difficulties and obstacles in your life. It actually helps you to show your own power. It helps you to get your power back. It talks about the freedom of action. So, I've got the right to do what I want to be doing. You can be very motivated somehow to show your skills. You can be a lot more competitive. You can be very good at promotion and sale around that time. You might want to be fighting for your own opinions. But yes, from a negative perspective, we can really overspend or overdo things, Marsian things in our life, especially. Your expectation level can be way too high, and then people cannot really live up to that. Or also, this could make your concentration skills a little bit dogmatic. So you are focusing on one thing because Mars is in Scorpio, or it can even make it a little bit scattered as well. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Vesta also conjuncts this new moon. And Vesta is about devotion, so devoting to a cause. Now, in ancient times, each home had a fire in the center of the house that was not only used for cooking and heat, but it symbolized the essential life force that kept the household happy, healthy, and functioning overall. And at the center of the town, there was another sacred fire that represented the unique essence and energy of the city. And the Vestian virgins were actually dedicating their half of their life to protect this fire. So Vesta talks about the sacred flame within you, kind of like a unique spark of the divine essence, and kind of realizing that, you know what, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So something to do with your soul purpose gets awakened with this new moon. Vesta virgins were actually also told, we tend to be thinking that it's something to do with the virgin type of energy. So sexuality comes to your mind, but actually it's all about the pureness as well. So the pure intentions. So are your intentions pure around this solar eclipse? What are your intentions? What are my life purposes, soul purposes? These are the things which I think this solar eclipse actually invites you to kind of discover within yourself. And sometimes it might come with a little bit of a withdrawing from the world, because Vesta is all about devoting their lives to one thing. So this could talk about withdrawing from the mundane, from the world, but it is also giving you the opportunity to actually discover something within yourself. So this solar eclipse can actually ask you, what have you discovered within yourself in the last couple of years? Maybe you have discovered that I've got talent to, I don't know, bind flowers, for instance, and that's what I want to be doing in my entire life. Or I can do this candle business, and so forth. So this is about finding the warmth within yourself towards a cause. I do believe that there is going to be some scandals coming out as well with this new moon, because Nessus, which is about scandals and abuse, is squaring the new moon. So maybe, I don't want to be talking about politics so much and, the COVID situation, because I know it's a sensitive topic, but I can imagine some scandal and abuse about that. Or because it's in the sign of Sagittarius, the new moon, which is about your freedom and travel opportunities. So how it was actually abused. I think overall, this solar eclipse is inviting you to have faith and hope within you. Faith in yourself and the hope that you can create a better future, and how your power were abused in your personal relationships or in your surroundings. And forget for a second about what is going on in the world. It wants you to look into what is going on within you and illuminate some of those fears and then go and conquer the world. This is a very spiritual solar eclipse, in my opinion. So yes, very spiritual. And I hope this video kind of helps you to trigger something to understand your chart a little bit better. Have a look at if you have got any planet around 12 degrees of the mutable signs. So Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Those will be affected the most. But also if it conjuncts any of your personal planets, then you should be expecting a turning point. So what I would like you to do is, let's say this solar eclipse in my case is happening right on around my midheaven, right? So that's something to do with the social status. But if it happens, for instance, around your, I don't know, moon, then I'd like you to look at, okay, what does moon rule in my chart? Okay, because you should be expecting some significant changes around that house topic in your life. So guys, thank you very much. And I will see you very shortly. Bye-bye.